So it's not a secret that Mark Zuckerberg's Metaverse kind of flopped. I mean, just look at this. It looks awful. They've wasted billions of dollars on it, and now it's killed the rest of the market. Good job, Mark. But I think there's actually a very simple reason why their Metaverse failed so badly. It's us, humans. Now, I don't mean that the users of Horizon Worlds are at fault, but rather that they shouldn't have been there at all. Let me explain. Humans are super complex, and trying to make online socializing work is not an easy task. I mean, just look at how we all handled video calls during the COVID-19 pandemic. There's already been a large amount of research done into Zoom fatigue and why online meetings can get so awkward. But the main headline is that the technology we have just isn't good enough yet to capture all of the complicated things that make us human. And it's not like humans are just a pain for communication software. They're pretty much the hardest thing in every industry, whether it's visual effects or autonomous vehicles, animation. Even good old-fashioned painters and sculptors regard portraiture as one of the most technical skills. What I'm trying to say is that trying to implement multiplayer at the scale and fidelity that Meta envisioned was just too ahead of its time. When you look at some of the places in Horizon Worlds, they don't seem too awful, but as soon as you see the avatars, then you realise just how much the technology is lacking. Now, don't get me wrong, the whole reason why Metaverse failed is a bit more nuanced than that, but I think a large part stems from the multiplayer ambitions. One of the other big factors was that everyone needed one of these, and they're not exactly cheap. But the reason for that is again that humans are so complex. We need tens of millions of pixels at something higher than 120 frames per second to really be truly immersed. Not to mention that needs to happen twice, once for each eye. Another big mistake was what they actually put in Horizon Worlds. Namely, because it wasn't anything like how most people currently use the internet. Like, who uses the internet to go to the pub, play basketball, or go clubbing? Thankfully, it would seem that Apple have learnt from this and made a product that's actually useful. You probably saw the trailer that dropped on the 5th of June. If you ignore the $3,500 price tag, then I think it's fair to say that this looks epic. And you'll notice that there's nothing to do with other people. Well, except the FaceTime app, but we'll touch on that at the end. Apple have chosen to make the Vision Pro about the things we already do, essentially just creating a 3D version of the iPhone and Mac. I mean, the Vision operating system is literally derived from iOS, and you can actually view your Mac screen in 3D space. What this means is that Apple know that their product is useful, and they don't have to convince anyone to start doing anything new with technology. With Horizon Worlds, Meta had to persuade you to start using the internet for all sorts of new things. Apple are just selling you a new way to do the things that you already do with their tech. The other thing is that Meta had to create from scratch all of these experiences for Horizon Worlds. And for some weird reason, they decided that the best way to do this was to let the community do it. I mean, of course you're going to end up with stuff like this.
This is Disneyland, the parody park. Notice how I say parody park because we are not Disneyland.
Apple are just adapting the software that they've been perfecting for years, so naturally the quality is going to be a lot better. But what this also means is that these tried and tested apps are going to start organically growing. The apps that you already love will slowly evolve to take advantage of 3 dimensions. This is called remediation theory, and it's generally regarded as a much better way of introducing new mediums. Rather than just creating totally new experiences like Meta, existing software is adapted, meaning users find it a lot more familiar from the get-go. Like, imagine if now on Amazon you could pick up and look at products before you bought them, even being able to compare them to what you already own to see if they match. Now, I want to make it clear that the experience offered by the Vision Pro is not a metaverse. A better way to think about it is just like a fancy new monitor that lets you use your computer in 3D. So no, it's not replacing what Meta tried to do, but what it is doing is pushing us a little bit closer to that future. It's not trying to rush things, something Apple seems to be very good at getting right so that they only ever sell you a polished product. A good example of this is how they've decided to implement FaceTime, which I promised I'd end on. Something you may not know is that Apple were originally working on an experience dubbed Co-Presence, where you'd be able to see a full body avatar of someone when talking to them. It seems as though this hasn't made it into the first version of Vision Pro so far. And instead, FaceTime looks more like how the app is at the moment, just in 3D.
Oh hey, don't forget to like and subscribe.
While you might think it's boring that Apple have played things so safe in a way, what we need is technology that excites us about virtual reality, not makes us think it's a janky mess. Meta may have ruined all of our dreams of wanting to use the Metaverse anytime soon, but it looks as though Apple may be able to pull it back by not making the same mistake of trying to run before they can walk. Literally.